Crawford and Billy Martin, and the Yankees want the bat. Look at Martin.
Well, what they're talking about, Frank, is that he's got too much fine tar, and you've got to have a certain amount of distance from the trademark of the bat and the fine tar.
And Nettles is leaving the field as if the game is over. Albie's just coming in.
I'm not sure. They might have a legitimate gripe. They might be going to call George Brett out.
Well, he's out.
Yes, sir.
Brett is out. Look at this. Brett is out. And
Team is mad.
he is out and having to be forcibly restrained from hitting plate umpire Tim McClellan.
And welcome back to another episode of Too Much Pod Tar. As we, last week we kind of took a week off. No, we didn't get enough people to be on the pod, so we just skipped the week. But I have with me today, I'm Alex Keir, as always, your host. And today I have Gio D'Amico back on the pod with me, as he was on a trip for the past couple weeks. So how was that trip, Gio?
Very good.
Good.
I wish I was still there, but it's
Yeah.
fine.
And then Johnny Black, the Score Crow creator, and he's been putting a lot of work in. He worked 27 hours the past 2 days, which he told us before the pod started. So I know he's been getting under a lot of pressure, but that happens. Life happens. So hey, how's everything else going besides that, Johnny?
Oh, it's good. I mean, the work, it sucks working, but you know what? It's overtime, so I can use it. I could always use the extra cash.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so All-Star break is just a few days away now. It starts on Monday with the home run derby, and it's exciting here. We're halfway through the season, and we kind of talk about some of the stuff that first we can go over and talk about midseason, who we have our Midseason Awards as, and some other stuff. And so I guess we can start off with who our picks for midseason MVP are. So Gio, do you want to go with yours first?
Sure. For AL, it wasn't really much of a debate for me. You got to go with the old standby Mike Trout. I mean, he just does it all. He hits for average. He's got 25 home runs, unless he hit another one tonight. I'm not sure if he did, but let's see. No, not so far. So he's hitting 299, 26 home runs, so I guess he did. And 88 hits, 294 at-bats. He's got a 5.7 WAR and a OPS plus of 187. The average for OPS plus is 100, so that means he's 87 points above average, above replacement. That's pretty amazing. That's hard to beat. He's got an on-base percentage of 454, so he basically gets on base one out of every 2 times he's just barely missing that.
Mm-hmm.
Slugging 633. It's like you can't really ask for more. And he's an average defender. I mean, I feel like he gets too much hype as a defender, but if you look at the statistics, he's an average defender, which is good enough for how he plays on offense. So he's just doing everything right now. And I can't really think of anyone else you could give it to. I mean, you could argue DJ LeMahieu, but I don't see that. What he's doing, stay consistent, and there's really no one else I would even consider. People are say Xander Bogaerts. I just don't see it. It's Mike Trout right now. And when we're talking NL MVP, this was a really tough one for me. I had to dive into it. I mean, it was between obviously Cody Bellinger hitting 344 with 30 home runs, and Christian Yelich, who's hitting 325 with 31 home runs. And right now, I decided to give it to Cody Bellinger, not just because of his lead and average, but just overall, his OPS plus is at 196 right now compared to Yelich's. Let's see here. Yelich's 186, 4.8 WAR for Yelich, 6.7 WAR for Cody Bellinger, and this is offensive WAR. I mean, they're very comparable right now. I could see the argument for either, but right now Bellinger's still swinging it. At one point, he was over 400 for a consistent amount of time. We all knew that wouldn't stick, but the fact that he's above 340 is still impressive for someone who hit 260 last year and kind of struggled. So OPS of 1146 basically. So that's impressive. It's hard to top that right now. Christian Yelich 1132, so it's pretty close race still. Josh Bell, another guy you could argue, but he doesn't have quite as much production as the other two, unless you're looking at RBIs. When we're talking about RBIs, Josh Bell has 84 of them. And he is hitting 308, 27 home runs, 84 RBIs. It's a three-man race right now, but Cody Bellinger's leading that race.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that too. My pick for NL MVP is also Bellinger. It's also, as you said, Gio, a three main race for me with Bellinger, Yelich, and Bell. It'll be exciting to see that race play out for the rest of the year. They've all been performing very well this year, and Yelich coming back after his MVP season last year. I'm kind of surprised how he's been able to keep it up this year. He's just been, I didn't think he'd putting up numbers this well, like this far into the season, because he just kind of picked up where he left off and just hasn't stopped really.
I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then just for the AL MVP, just for the kind of the sake of arguing, I'm going with DJ LeMahieu for my MVP for first half. I'm not saying he's leading right now for the whole in the entire season MVP, but I think he's just what he's been able to do for the Yankees this year, hitting almost 500 with runners in scoring position this year, and he's leading. I know it's not everything, but he's leading in batting average for the AL. He's leading in hits. He's also I think right now he's fourth in OPS and second in RBIs. But I would say for the full season, right now he'd probably be second or third in MVPs. But I think just for this first half, I think he's kind of maybe a little bit ahead of Trout, just because what he's been able to do for the Yankees.
The most impressive thing about LeMahieu is the amount of RBIs he drives in from the leadoff position. I mean, that also shows good on the bottom of the Yankees lineup, getting on base for him to drive them in. So, yeah, I could see the argument for that. It's close right now.
Yeah, it's definitely close, and then obviously I don't think he's going to keep it up for the whole entire season. So that's why I'm saying only for first half, not for the whole season. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you use that argument for LeMahieu as far as what he's done for his team, that's part of the reason why I would say Yelich in the NL.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Bellinger's been incredible. Yelich isn't far behind. I mean, they're comparable offensively. Bellinger's a better fielder.
Mm-hmm.
Yelich also has 19 stolen bases.
Yeah.
So take the base running and the fielding, okay, and the hitting is almost the what. But what Yelich has done for Milwaukee, the fact that they're in a virtual tie for the division lead, and the fact that the Dodgers are 15 games ahead of the Rockies with the best record in the major leagues. If you're gonna say someone like LeMahieu, and I'm not arguing LeMahieu, I'm just saying because I know how important he's definitely been the most important player on the Yankees. Gary Sanchez a close second, but if you're going to use that same argument, I would use that same argument in the NL, and I would have to go with Christian Yelich because without Christian Yelich, Milwaukee might be in fourth or fifth place in the NL Central.
Mm-hmm.
Without Cody Bellinger on the Dodgers, they'd probably still be in first place.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? So I look at with all things being considered, obviously MVP has always been basically the best player in the league. I guess it's most valuable player, and you can argue how important the value of it is. I think the value is more of a tiebreaker at this point. And that's why Trout is in the top two every year, because he's just the best player in the world, But I would use that same argument with Christian Yelich because I think Christian Yelich has been more valuable with all things being considered and their stats being comparable. I would say Christian Yelich is more valuable of a player to his team than Cody Bellinger is. Not taking anything away from Bellinger because it's been awesome, but that was just my opinion for the NL. For the AL, it's got to be Trout. I mean, it's not. I don't know, man. I don't even think it's close. The only other guy I would consider is probably Alex Bregman, especially going forward, because I looked at his stats. Bregman's got a 242 BABIP, which is insane, insanely low.
Yeah.
And it's contributing to his I think his batting average is 263. So I think that's hurting him. But he's an excellent fielder. He's a good base runner. His walk to strikeout ratio is actually better than Trout's. So I mean, this kid's gonna be an MVP sooner or later. And honestly, his underlying stats this year, if he goes back to his BABIP gets back up to the 290, 300 where it should be, and everything, the average should also go back around that point. And if he keeps walking at an 18% clip and only striking out at 13, 14, I don't know. He's something special, Bregman. So I just wanted to throw him in there. I mean, even with a 242 BABIP and a 263 average, he's still got a 3.6 WAR. I went by Fangraphs WAR, but of course Trout's got a 6. So I mean, it's not. And the funny thing is too, the comparison I wanted to make between both, as far as WAR goes with FWAR for the Fangraphs, Bellinger is 5.8, Yelich is 4.9, Trout is 6. But we talk about Bellinger and Yelich, look at the year that Bellinger is having. It's so amazing and everything. They get all the hype, and Trout just does what he does and is the man. The best player in the league. It's incredible that he just doesn't even get any pub anymore.
I hate to be that guy
he just does what he does.
This. Yeah, I hate to be the guy who says this. Because some people are just going to disagree, but Mike Trout is still an underrated player just because of how people don't respect him because they don't see him on TV a lot. First of all, second, I would
agree with that.
Yeah, and second of all, he the production that he has consistently year after year just goes overlooked. All the hype right now is like you said around Yelich and Bellinger, and yeah, they have higher batting averages and a few more home runs, but Mike Trout's. Without Mike Trout, the Angels are sitting in last place, and it's not even close right now. They don't have anybody else that's they don't have any flashy players other than Shohei Ohtani, and he's not going to take that team out of the basement of the division. Mike Trout's one of the best players. If he keeps up his consistency how he's playing, he'll be one of the best players in baseball history, and I'm not hesitant to say that. So the fact that he still gets overlooked in some aspects just is crazy to me.
Well, I looked it up the other day. I think we were talking about it maybe on the chats or something. And Mike Trout's going to be 28 years old next month.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to be 28. He is 72nd all time in WAR.
It's insane.
He's top 75 all time, and he's not even 28 yet. Yeah. If he keeps this production up, even for another 5 years at a 10 WAR per year, that's 119, 120 WAR.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude at 32 years old could be top 10 all time.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's just nuts.
It is.
I mean, we could be talking possibly, but I mean, we look at his contract that he just signed. If he plays it out now, we can't expect him to play to the level he does now 10 years from now. But we could be witnessing the best player ever.
Yeah.
It's a real possibility.
And and he still just doesn't. He's not. Something about Mike Trout isn't flashy, and that's not a bad thing. There's just
he's humble. He's just goes out and plays.
I feel like even if he was on a team like the Dodgers or something, he still wouldn't have the stardom. Well, he has stardom, but he wouldn't be looked at like Cody Bellinger is, because Bellinger's got a little bit of swagger. He's confident, and everyone likes Cody Bellinger. Everyone likes Mike Trout too, but he plays on the wrong side of LA. But he's still in LA in the spotlight, and he manages to stay humble and to be a guy for the fans. How many big name baseball players over time sign autographs for pretty much every fan they see?
And he's also going to be an Angel for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's rare. Staying on
that says a lot. I mean, barring trade, but he would have to, he would have to approve it
Right.
in another year or two. Well, with the 10-5 rights anyway, so, and I'm sure he has no trade. But, so if he's the Angels center fielder for 20 years, and he could put up like 130, 140 WAR, if not more. I mean, seriously, we're seriously talking about a top 5 player all time.
Yeah.
It's a shame that he hasn't had more playoff experience just because he doesn't have a team around him.
Yeah.
I was glad Ohtani joined the Angels because I wanted to see, Mike Trout have some success built around him. Like, as a Yankee fan, I knew there was no way he was coming to New York. That would just be too crazy. So the Angels would be my second pick, though, because I want to see Mike Trout and his team have success. And, they've got a couple good guys in their system. They've got Joe Adele, who will be ready in probably 2 years, I would imagine.
Yeah. I like him a lot.
I love Joe Adele. He's one of my favorite prospects. They've got some good stuff in the system. They've got this young kid, Griffin Canning, who knows how to pitch. That's for sure. His ERA is a little inflated right now, but he definitely has what it takes. So the organization's kind of looking in the right place right now. Once you ditch Pujols' contract, you'll really be able to do much more in free agency too.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a shame what's happened to the Angels too. I mean, it's Tyler Skaggs this week was just like horrible.
Yeah,
and it brought back a lot of memories of Nick Adenhart back in 2009.
Yeah, and Luis Valbuena too. He was an Angel. He died.
That's right. He was an Angel. That's right.
I think they were I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I think the Angels were the last team he played for. So this organization's just like, I don't want to say cursed, but that's how I saw someone on the MLB Network describe it. It's like they just have this thing about them. It's just they're like it's unfortunate how this keeps happening to them.
Yeah, and then they get not just the unfortunate stuff like that, and that's of course it's horrible with Skaggs and Adenhart and Valbuena and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even on the baseball field itself, I mean, they've just been burned. With the Pujols contract. I mean, through their own stupidity in that sense.
Yeah,
but,
that was not a good sign.
Pujols, and then Josh Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Back then too, they owed him $25 million a year for 3 years after he was gone. They hamstring themselves with these contracts.
Yeah,
they need to get smarter about things.
The Angels have never been, at least recently, haven't been a team to make a big trade splash either. They always stay quiet around the deadline. I mean, they haven't really done anything to try to fix their pitching. Their pitching staff just mediocre at best. Andrew Heaney's good when he's healthy, but he's not healthy very often. So that's always going to be something that restricts them unless he can stay healthy. But then you got Griffin Canning, but then, it kind of falls off after that, especially after Tyler Skaggs. That was just terrible. Not even to bring baseball into it, because that his life, it's so much more important than just the game. But there's just everything about the organization just, I don't know. It seems like they're just super unlucky.
Yeah, I'll even throw a couple other names out there. Garrett Richards.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, the dude was a stud when he pitched.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's still not healthy with the Padres.
He was always with the Padres. Yeah, well, the Padres signed him with a 2-year deal. They knew he was going to be out this year.
Yeah,
but I mean,
a prove it thing.
Yeah, he was just he was lights out when he pitched.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. I remember seeing something on Garrett Richards about his spin rate. He had a top spin rate on his two-seamer, in the league, in the major leagues. He was really, and he's still only 30 years old.
Yeah,
and then you had another guy like Matt Schumacher.
Oh, geez, I forgot.
Another guy that had a year or two that he was really good. He couldn't stay healthy, and now I think he went to Toronto and he got hurt again this year.
Yeah, he's out for the season for Toronto.
Yeah, they just I don't know what it is with pitching with them, man. They just, like you said, obviously Adenhart, Tyler Skaggs, that's a different situation completely. Mm-hmm. I'm just talking about on the field stuff and injuries and everything. It's just, I don't know. It just seems they just can't get any footing in the ALS. They just can't get any anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys want to move on to like the next awards?
Sure.
Yeah. So I guess we can move on to Cy Young. I guess Johnny, you want to start with that one?
All right, we'll start with National League. I have to go with Ryu from the Dodgers at this point. It's close with Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
I think the two of them are really close. Ryu's just putting up insane numbers right now, though. You know, and Scherzer feels to me, I was looking back on it, and him to the Cy Young Award feels to me kind of like Trout with the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like the best pitcher in the, you know, Trout's the best player in the American League, but he doesn't always win the MVP. He finishes second half the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Scherzer is kind of the same. He's been a top 2 finish for the last 6 years. You know, and it just seems that he's that consistent guy that's going to go out to 200 innings, strike out 270, you know, do his thing, pitch to like a 2-something ERA. You know, and Ryu this year, Ryu 10-2 with a 1.73. He leads the league in ERA. He leads the league in ERA plus at 2.42. He leads the league in WHIP at .908. And he's got 99 strikeouts compared to 10 walks, which is insane. He's been incredible this year. Now Scherzer, on the other hand, like we said, Scherzer leads the league with 170 Ks. He's got a 2.43. You know, it's like I said, like Scherzer is like Trout. You can give him the Cy Young. You can make an argument for him for the Cy Young every single year. Mm-hmm. But there seems to be always someone there that puts up the season that challenges him. And I think Ryu's that guy. And as of right now, if Ryu keeps that ERA below 2, I know ERA isn't everything. And I know, you know, we can look at FIP and XFIP and CRA and all that stuff. But I don't know. With a 1.73 ERA and a 99 to 10 K to walk rate. I mean, granted, Scherzer's got a 170 to 22 K to walk rate, so it's not like it's that bad either.
No.
But I just think, you know, and Ryu's got 10 wins. If Ryu can pull a Blake Snell this year. You know, Snell won the AL Cy last year. If Ryu can have the same type of year, win 20 games, and have a sub-2 ERA, with that kind of strikeout to walk rate and that kind of whip, I think he'll win the Cy Young Award. And I think he'll deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the AL goes, the AL's a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
I have it as a 3-team race. If I was going to call it right now, I probably would go Charlie Morton. But for me, it's between Morton, Giolito, and Cole.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cole's gonna win it.
Yeah.
He's the only one out of those 3 that is severely underperforming his FIP and underperforming everything else. He's been bitten by the home run bug. He's got almost a 20% home run to fly ball ratio this year, Cole.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
But he's leading the league in strikeouts per 9, over 13 strikeouts per 9. I mean, his xFIP is 2.68. His ERA is 3.28. You know, the other guys, their xFIPs, let's see, Giolito, 2.72 ERA, xFIP 3.83. So he's outperforming his numbers. Morton's 2.36 ERA, xFIP 3.23. We know that Tampa Bay plays good defense, so, I mean, that's going to help him anyway. Mm-hmm. But, like I said, right now I might have to hand it to Morton, but Cole just has the underlying numbers that he's going to improve. Out of the 3, he's got the lowest left-on-base percentage. He's got the highest BABIP. It's just the home runs that are killing him as far as his ERA goes. But if he can get that ERA below 3 and strike out 250 guys, and, like, you know, I think Cole can win it. But as of right now, I think I'd have to hand it to Morton.
Yeah.
The Lance Lynn. I just want to mention Lance Lynn because Lance Lynn actually leads AL starters in WAR. He's got a 3.91 ERA. And I just don't see that one.
Condone that.
That's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, I know ERA. Like I said, ERA is not the be all end all, and obviously it's a dying stat, kind of like batting average. But I'm sorry, if you have a 3.9, it just doesn't cut it for a Cy Young Award. So
I agree.
you know, so yeah, those are my guys. I would say Morton right now, but I think Cole's going to win it. And then in the National League, Ryu right now, and Ryu and Scherzer are neck and neck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for AL, it was a two-person race for me. If I'm calling it right now, I couldn't condone giving it to Garrett Cole for mid-season award just because of his, like you said, the amount of home runs he's giving up over the course of time. At the end of the season, he definitely is going to improve, and I could definitely see him win it. But if I'm calling it right now, I'm giving it to Lucas Giolito. I mean, this guy's improved insanely. Not that even matters for the award, but it's just important to bring it up. Last year he was 10-13 with a 6.13 ERA. Like, if you have that ERA as a starter, he pitched over 30 games. That's just there was something wrong, and he really put in a lot of work to fix whatever was wrong. His walk rate is way down. His strikeout rate is through the roof. It was 6.5 Ks per nine last year, up to 10.8 Ks per nine this year. He gave up 1.4 home runs per nine last year, down to 0.8 this year. And his hits per nine's down by about 2.5 hits too. So he did something in the offseason. He's doing something right. He's got 11 wins right now, which I think is tied for the American League lead with who is it? Is it Mike Minor? Let me see. Oh, this is gonna bother me. I don't have.
I think it might be It's either Minor or Lynn.
I think it's Minor. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the Rangers pictures. Let's see.
One of them's 11-4. I think it might be Lance Lynn is 11-4.
Yeah, Minor's got 8 wins. So yeah, he's tied with Lance Lynn. So Lance Lynn for the AL lead in wins right now, 11-2, 2.72 ERA. He's got 3.7 WAR right now, and his WHIP is 1.021, which is very good. I don't know if he's out. I mean, everything suggests that he's outperforming his numbers right now, but if he can somewhat stick to what he's doing right now, then I could see him taking home the award. Like, his strikeout rate is high. It's not as high as Garrett Cole's, but nobody's strikeout rate is, at least among starters. So, I mean, Giolito's just doing it all right now. He's got 2 complete games this year, which leads the American League, which is kind of an unfortunate stat because that just shows how much the times have changed. But he's pitching, how do I say it? Like, I was watching earlier on MLB Breakdown. He's got a short arm delivery. He short arms his throws. That makes it so hard for hitters to read what he's throwing. And it's really impressive, but I'm worried that he's not going to be able to maintain how he's throwing. And I can't really describe it because I can't show a video or something, but where most pitchers will extend their arm fully to throw, he short arms his throw. And it's really working for him this year, but it could become a problem later on in his career. But right now he's dominating. No one can really touch him. And that's a huge change from last year because everybody could touch him. And that's pretty impressive to me to see how much of a difference he's made. Another guy that you could probably throw in the race is Justin Verlander. I mean, he's got a 0.813 whip right now, which is very low. That especially for a starter, that's super impressive. He's striking out 11 guys per nine. He's only giving up 5.4 hits per nine. And I don't know. He's doing everything right, too. So I'd say it's a 4-person race right now. I'd order it Giolito, Morton, Verlander, Cole as of now. But if I had to make a prediction on who's going to take home the award, I'd agree with Johnny and say Garrett Cole's going to end up being the Cy Young Award winner for the AL. And for the NL, for the sake of argument, because I agree that Ryu's having a dominant season, and there's nothing like how he's pitching right now. But for the sake of argument, I am going to go Max Scherzer. Something tells me that Ryu, if the Dodgers were without Ryu, they would be doing better off than the Nationals would if they were without Scherzer. I think Scherzer's a little more valuable to his team because he's just that dominant ace. Ryu hasn't been that dominant ace before, and they were still fine when he was just pitching average or slightly above average. If the Nationals lost Scherzer's production, they would not be sniffing a wild card spot right now. And Scherzer's doing it all right, striking out 12.5 per nine, only walking 1.6. His hits per nine is actually higher than it's been in his entire tenure with the Nationals at 7.4 right now. And I think he's kind of actually underperforming how he's doing right now. So I could see him even improving on how he's doing now, because he started the season a little bit rocky. So he's kind of trying to work back from that. But it's really just a two-person race for me in the NL. There's a couple people who are close, but between Scherzer and Ryu, I would just give it to Scherzer.
All right, so I would, for my NL Cy Young, I'd probably go with Scherzer as well. I just think, it's kind of hard not to at this point. He's been having such a good first half. I know Ryu has been having he's been having a really impressive season, as you guys mentioned. You said all the stats and everything, but right now, if I was going to call it for like the first half, I'd say Scherzer, but obviously Ryu, if he keeps it up, I think he'll end up winning it, and maybe kind of an upset but at the end, but we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm going to say Scherzer. And then with the AL, I was actually going to go with Verlander. As you said, he's got the .83 WHIP right now, and he's up there with the strikeout to walk ratio, and he also leads the league right now with home runs per nine with 5.2. That was from, I think, yesterday, which I don't know if I changed since. That was from his last start, so I don't know if it changed or not. So it was 5.2 before his last start. But then, yeah, those are my guys, Verlander and Scherzer, right now for midseason. But obviously, all those things can change. It's only the first half of the season, and a lot of things will end up changing, and I'll change my mind about it. But we'll see. It's going to be exciting for sure. These award races are going to be exciting to watch.
You know what's insane about Verlander is I was reading something today. He's given up 26 home runs already this year, and he basically leads the league in hits per nine. Like, it's so weird when he gets hit, like it goes over the fence. It's so odd.
Yeah.
He's such an anomaly, Verlander. We talk about that sometimes. Guys just outperform. They just consistently outperform, and I think Verlander is one of them. Yes, he has impeccable control, and he throws hard, and he knows his stuff, and he strikes out a lot of guys and everything. But it's so weird that he can get but Scherzer's like that too. You look at last year. Scherzer gave up like 20-something home runs, where DeGrom only gave up 10.
Yeah.
So Scherzer is in that same mold somewhat. If you're gonna give up a home run, I'd like to know how many of those 26 home runs Verlander gave up were solo shots.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't walk anybody. He doesn't give up any hits. So
I would guess
it's just interesting. Yeah. It's just interesting that he gets hit by the home run bug on a consistent basis too. Because Verlander and Scherzer both, like, they give up home runs. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that's what hurts Scherzer is the sense that he'll lose games 2-0 because he gave up two solo home runs. Look at opening day this year. He lost 2-0 to DeGrom, and the first run was Robbie Cano at a home run off him in the first inning.
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
You know what I mean? Like that's a Scherzer game. He still struck out like 12. But those are the type of games that Scherzer and Verlander both have. Kind of weird.
Yeah, and to your point about solo home runs, he's only had 26 home runs, 42 earned runs all year. So,
that's insane.
There's no way he's given up like more than 4 or 5 home runs that were not solo shots. He's giving up runs in other ways, obviously. So, he gives up home runs at the right moment, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he just keeps everyone else off base.
Yeah.
So when he makes a mistake and it's hit over the fence, oh well, that's one run.
Yeah.
That's all you're getting. That's basically the way it goes. It's crazy.
Exactly.
And another guy I wanted to throw in there for, kind of a dark horse right now for the National League is Luis Castillo, who's been having a really good first half. Right now he's 8-3 with a 2.29 ERA, 124 strikeouts, and he's also only given up a 169 batting average against right now. So, and that leads the league. So he's definitely in the race right now. I think he's probably like the fourth. I think he's the fourth guy on the list right now for me.
Yeah.
So he'll definitely be in the race.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the thing that worries me about Ryu is that Ryu's not a big strikeout guy.
Mhm.
Ryu likes pitching to contact. I mean, that's how he gets it done, and that works for some people. Works for pitchers like Zach Britton, who gives up like 70% ground balls. But for a starter like that, I don't really love that he's not a huge strikeout guy, just because the fact that if he does make mistakes when he's trying to get contact, that ball is going to go a long way probably. So that's what leads me to think he's overperforming right now because A, he's never pitched this good before in his life, and B, there's just no way that I shouldn't say there's no way because he's doing it right now, but I don't see a way that he's going to be able to maintain this if he's not striking guys out. If he's willing to give up contact, it better be soft contact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to take a look because I had a big thing this year about all these fantasy people talking about Blake Snell after last season.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to look at this stuff because he's not going to have that good a year. Obviously, he wasn't going to have a sub-2 ERA. I mean, we're not talking about Clayton Kershaw until he proves it. But in the AL East, I was like, look, Snell, you're looking at like a 3-something ERA. When I was telling people that in the beginning of the year, that Snell is probably going to have like a 3.2, 3.3, they were saying like his ERA is going to go up over a whole run. And I was like, yeah. I was like, do you think this guy's going to have like a 2-something ERA? No, that's not going to happen. Because you looked at his peripherals. Yes, Snell has strikeout stuff, no doubt. But left on base percentage is a huge thing for me because it normalizes. It's almost like BABIP in a sense, where it normalizes. Blake Snell led the American League. Yeah, I think he led major leagues. He had an 88% left on base percentage last year. 88.
Yeah.
That's unsustainable. Major league average is 75 for starters. Yeah. So 88 is just out of control. If you took 8 away, if you took 8% of that, and I looked at this, if you took 8% of that and gave him 80, which is still 5% above league average, he would have had a 2.65 ERA last year. So if you look at some regression, plus even if you're giving him an 80% left on base rate, you're talking about a low 3 ERA. But no one wanted to listen to me in the beginning of the year, and then people would draft Blake Snell in the first round. So
exactly.
Well, there you go. Now he's got a 5 ERA. So I don't. But Ryu, I just bring that up because Ryu is similar to that. Although Ryu had a pretty good year last year, even in only 15 starts. He had a pretty good year last year. And yes, he does pitch the contact, but he doesn't walk anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 walks in 100 innings this year. That's pretty good. I mean, he's got a 0.8 walk per 9.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
And these this day and age, that's unheard.
He's got, and that's what leads me to believe that he can pitch to soft contact because his control and command is so good. He will limit the hard contact that he gives up. So, yes, Ryu is this year's Blake Snell to a point. A little different, obviously different of a pitcher, but if Ryu winds up with a sub-2 ERA this year, I wouldn't count on it next year, depending on his left on base percentage and stuff like that. But but I see what you're saying. That's the only reason I brought up Blake Snell.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Yeah.
I want to just real quick, when we were doing our preseason award picks, I'm gonna just make myself look bad now because my AL Cy Young it was kind of a dark horse, but it was Mike Clevenger. That hasn't gone well,
Oh.
mainly because of injury. And my NL, another injury, was Jamison Tyon. So that has not gone well. Next year, I think I'm going to go with the more obvious picks rather than trying to go dark horse. But yeah, that was a little rough. And then for MVP, I think I did pick Trout. And then for NL, though, I tried to be real dark horse and go Juan Soto. And Juan Soto has been good, but definitely not MVP. So next year.
Yeah,
I forget. We're gonna have to look back on that because I forget who I picked. I think I went chalk though. I think I went Bauer and Scherzer for Cy Youngs.
I think it went Verlander and I think it went Scherzer too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I went chalk on that one. Pretty much.
For rookie, we're getting the rookie of the year, so I guess we'll see that.
Yeah, so we can go to that now though, if you want.
Yeah. No, good segue.
Yeah. So for the AL, even with all the hype around Vlad Jr., there's pretty much a clear favorite. Obviously, right now with Brandon Lau of the Rays. So
I don't think so.
I mean, even Vlad Jr. was all this hype. He's been struggling this year, but Lau he's had a really good rookie season so far. And let's see his numbers. Right now his batting average is 271, 276 actually, and he's got 339 on base percentage, 862 OPS, and he also has 16 home runs, 49 RBIs. So, and then obviously the next closest would probably be Michael Chavis of the Red Sox, he's not too far behind. I think it's a pretty tight race between the two of them right now. Chavis he's struggled a little bit there, but he kind of picked it up again of late. So I definitely go with those two for the AL.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the NL, I think the clear favorite is definitely Pete Alonso. What else? Who else is there besides Tatis Jr.? He's probably close by, but he also had injuries. He missed a little bit of time with an injury. So, Alonso's got 29 home runs right now, and he's definitely been having such a good season. As soon as he got the call to the Mets at the beginning of the season, he's been just on a tear, and not really anybody else you can have that's really that close to him right now for the rookie of the year.
Yeah. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Gio.
If we're talking about, I'm going to talk about the AL more than the NL because I'm just going to be boring for the NL and pick Pete Alonso because it's really not close.
No.
But Tatis, I think if he played more, I love Tatis. He's been one of my favorite players this year just because of how aggressive he is on the base paths and how he's such an electrifying player to watch. And I'm just going to give credit to Mike Soroka for the Braves too. I mean, that's just always going to go overlooked because of Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
One guy that I said I wasn't going to talk about the NL that much, but one guy that I would actually put in second right now, though, is Brian Reynolds for the Pirates. He flies under the radar so much, and this was a good call-up, and he's been playing great this year. Reynolds, he's been in a little bit of a tailspin the last few days, but he's hitting .338 with 6 home runs, 29 RBIs. He's got 405 OBP, 923 OPS, 142 OPS plus. Just like a week ago, he was hitting .360, so he's slumping a little bit as we get closer to the All-Star break. But people aren't really talking about him for the Rookie of the Year, and rightfully, because Pete Alonso is going to win if he keeps it up. But Brian Reynolds is a name that should be remembered. I mean, he's been very good. And for the AL, there's a few guys I want to talk about. For who I'm going to give it for the win right now, it would be Brandon Lau. Brandon Lau's hitting better than everyone right now, and Alex already went over his stats. But another guy that I would probably put in second over Chavis is John Means for the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, this guy going into the season, this is why it's so hard to make Rookie of the Year predictions because you never know who's going to be good and who's just going to blow.
Yeah.
So, John Means, He's 7-4 with a 2.5 ERA right now. Definitely the best pitcher in the Orioles rotation. It's really not that close. He's got 1.077 WHIP, only 69 strikeouts in 82 innings. So he's not a huge strikeout guy. 7.5 per nine. He doesn't walk many people either. 2.4 per nine, and he limits the home run ball. He's an all-star this year, and rightfully. I don't know when he got named the all-star, but I'm just looking at it now, and I saw that he made the team, which is great. I still don't know how Sonny Gray managed to sneak out the NL team, but John Means, yeah, he's definitely the runner-up for me right now. Michael Chavis, he has a problem with the high fastball. He can't hit the high fastball, and he's going to have to learn how to hit the high fastball. It was kind of the same thing with Aaron Judge, except Judge had more of a he was actually able to make contact with the high fastball.
Yeah.
Chavis just gets like destroyed when it comes to the high fastball. Like I would throw him that pitch every pitch until he made me regret it. He's not doing anything with that. He's easily one of the best rookies I've seen when it comes to hitting breaking balls.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with how he hits breaking balls, but he can't hit a high fastball, and that's just his downfall right now. But a couple other guys, Yordan Alvarez. I mean, he hasn't played that much, but he's got 7 home runs in his first 14 games. So he's looking pretty good so far. I don't think he's going to have enough stats by the end of the year to get him Rookie of the Year, but he looks like a good player. I'd even put Eloy Jimenez above Vlad Jr. right now. It's kind of a close race, but both of them are disappointing a little bit. I forget which one of them I picked for my Rookie of the Year pick. I think it was Vlad, and then Oscar Mercado for the Indians. He's got a 307 batting average. He's slugging 464. I mean, he's another guy that's just not going to get it, but he seems to come up clutch for the Indians. And finally, this one would be like, he's not going to win it at all, but I just have to give him recognition, is Marcus Walden for the Red Sox. I mean, he's 30 years old, 30-year-old rookies. I kind of love seeing that. Let's see. I'm trying to look at his updated stats here. Because over the last, I'm trying to see if he's pitched in the last few days. I have his stats from a few days ago. Yeah, he did. He must have had a bad outing. He's 6-1 with a 3.74 ERA. Last time when I actually wrote him down, he was 6-0 with a 2.72. So, maybe write his name off the list. But he's still pitching well for a 30-year-old rookie. There's a lot of competition in the AL right now, but it's probably going to go to Brandon Lau.
Well, I'm going to bring up a name in the AL that neither one of you guys mentioned.
Oh, geez.
Dan Vogelbach.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Dan Vogelbach, all right? He's been incredible this year. He's 20 home runs. People forget he's a rookie because he played last year and he played the year before. But he barely played. He actually had less. He's actually still has rookie status.
Yeah.
Because of the plate appearances. And he's been incredible this year. 18% walk rate, only a 22.5 strikeout rate. Compared to Brandon Lau, who's got 7.2 walk rate, 33.9 strikeout rate.
Yeah.
Chavis strikes out about the same amount, 32.9. Vogelbach compared to Lau, WRC is 139 to 128. And the thing I don't like about Lau is that he's got a 381 BABIP, which I can see falling off. I mean, yes, we're talking about midseason awards, so I get it and everything. But even at midseason, Vogelbach's got more home runs. I mean, the overall F-WAR goes slightly to Lau. Mm-hmm. It's 2.8, 3.6. But I still think Vogelbach he's a much better hitter at this point.
Yeah,
and I think he's getting way overlooked because neither one of you guys mentioned him. I'm
not gonna lie, I kind of forgot he was a rookie.
Yeah.
Because he played the last 2 years. I should have brought that up.
Me too.
He only had 104 plate appearances last year, and he only had about 15 for the Cubs. Like a couple of years ago, like he hasn't played. He still technically has rookie status. So he's like kind of like that guy, Marcus Walden you were talking about, 30-year-old rookie. Well, Vogelbach's not 30, but he's like a 27-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
I just want to bring him up. I picked him up in a bunch of my fantasy leagues earlier in the year, so I think that's why I wanted to blow him up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still think, like, looking at the stats and everything, I would give it to Vogelbach right now. The walk to strikeout rate is incredible. And the fact that he's got a 254 BABIP and Lau has a 381 just tells me that, things are going to – now, granted, Vogelbach's a power-hitting left-hander. Hits the ball in the air a lot. His BABIP is not going to be much over 250, 260. So, I mean, whatever. So I'm not expecting that to go up. I'm expecting Lau's to go down a little bit, though. Because it's not like Brandon Lau is like a speed demon where he's going to have like a 360 BABIP from the left-hand side or something like that. So I expect that to go down a bit. As far as the NL goes, you got to give it to Pete Alonso at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tatis could definitely challenge him. And I like the mention of Brian Reynolds because I think Brian Reynolds has been definitely under the radar. He plays in Pittsburgh, so you'd expect that. But, I mean, Alonso's just been – 29 home runs. We were just talking about Yelich and Bellinger with 31 and 30.
Yeah. Exactly.
And this dude's a rookie on a bad team.
Yeah.
At least Bellinger and Yelich play on, in good lineups. Alonso's been carrying that lineup as a rookie from, day one, which is incredible. Tatis, I agree with you, Gio. He's, electrifying player. 12 home runs, 13 stolen bases. Plays a premium position.
Tags up on pop-ups to second.
Yeah, he's just I saw that. He's just ridiculous. But another thing I look at, like we said about BABIP, Tatis has a 429 BABIP. That's not lasting.
Right. No way.
So the league's going to catch up to him a little bit, and everything like that. It's close as far as WRC. WRC plus, Alonso's got 161, Tatis is 158. They both have the exact same WOBA, 411. Mm-hmm. So, they've been comparable. It's just the fact that, Alonso's played 30 more games, 35 more games than Tatis has. But going forward, if Tatis can keep it going, which I don't think he will at this rate, but if he can keep it going, he's going to make it a fight. But, I think Alonso – you mentioned Aaron Judge the other day, before. Yeah. And I think Pete Alonso's having that Aaron Judge rookie year. Judge hit 52 home runs. I could see Pete Alonso doing that. He's at 29 already.
Yeah.
What's to say he can't hit 50? So something like that, I think would definitely put him over the edge. So I'd give it to Alonso in the National League.
Yeah.
Yeah, another award I wanted to talk about was the the Managers of the Year. And start off for the AL, I think it's probably a two-guy race right now between Aaron Boone of the Yankees and Rocco Baldelli of your Twins, Johnny.
Yeah.
And right now, obviously I'm a Yankees fan, but right now I'd give it a slight edge to Aaron Boone just because they've had, all these injuries, and he's been able to piece together that team and keep them, now with the best record in the majors, right ahead of the Dodgers. And, he's with all these injuries they've had, they've been able to just continue to play at such a high level. And just the way he's been able to manage them is just crazy. Who'd have thought Gio Urshela was going to end up being, this stud? Obviously, he put him in the lineup, and then it just all of a sudden just took off. And all these other guys he puts in the bullpen, he's a pretty good bullpen manager. So he definitely makes the right moves and puts the right guys in that can, shut the door on the opposing team. So
yeah.
And then with Baldelli, the Twins. Nobody expected them to be playing so good this year, and then he's been able to, have them playing at such a high level. So, I think that'll definitely be a close race there too between those two managers.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go Gio, or you want me to go?
Oh, I thought he was doing National League.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could go NL too.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough with the NL. I'm not really sure who's
Mickey Callaway.
Mickey Callaway is. I guess he's the anti-manager of the year.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Mets though too, Van Wagen, he threw like why do I keep saying his name wrong? I always say his name wrong. Van Broden, yeah. He had a press conference, I think it was yesterday, or not a press conference. It was a meeting between him and Callaway and the other coaches, and at the end of the meeting he like threw a chair, like it was like a tense thing that happened, and then like I don't know,
What?
like yeah, he literally threw a chair. I don't know if it was like at Callaway or somebody, or he just got really heated and just threw a chair like in the room.
Oh, that's professional.
Yeah, and it's just
That's
crazy.
front office at its finest.
It's just crazy how the Mets are just like, it seems like there's no, like they don't even like blame anyone for it or anything. It's just like it just happened. It's fine.
Yeah.
They're a disaster. They're a disaster.
Yeah.
The Mets.
Yeah, dumpster fire.
Yeah.
But I think the leader right now, I think it would probably be it would be Torey Lavola of the Diamondbacks. Just like they've been able to stay kind of afloat here, after trading Goldschmidt and losing Corbin and Pollock to free agency, they've still kind of been able to stay afloat. Obviously, with the Dodgers, they're not going to come close to them, but they've still been able to kind of stay in contention for a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's the leader right now for that.
Yeah. Some Diamondbacks fans would disagree with you there. I was on their subreddit the other day, and they're all trash talking Lavella. I'm like, I don't really know why. I don't watch every Diamondbacks game, but I guess it's bullpen management or something. I don't know.
Marcos.
Marcos
That's
too.
Marcos. He's the Diamondbacks guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think some people don't understand that manager of the year doesn't just mean you pick the manager whose team has the best record. So, like, I'm not going to give it to Dave Roberts for the NL because he's just got a really good team, and he should be fired if he wasn't doing as good as he was doing.
Yeah.
So, I would actually the NL is really tough for me. Like Laval's a good pick. I don't even know if the Diamondbacks are going to make a wild card spot, so I'm not going to give it to him. I think Joe Madden's kind of underperforming as a manager. They're as a team, they're underperforming right now. At least not enough for him to win Manager of the Year. That whole division actually is kind of underperforming. I expected that to be a more high leverage division where it was closer, but they're all 5 teams are underperforming.
Yeah.
So actually, the Reds are probably doing the best, and they're only like 4.5 games out of first. So
yeah,
it's that division's anyone's division. So I can't give it to anyone there. I would actually probably go Brian Snitker for the Braves. I mean, it's kind of skewed in the NL right now. I would give it to him just because personally I didn't think the Braves would do as good as they're doing right now just because of their pitching and their bullpen. And sure, he hasn't been the best bullpen manager this year, but I think he's leading his team better than most NL managers right now, but I can't really pick a good one in the NL. But for the AL, I'm going to give it to Rocco Baldelli. I expected the Yankees to be good this year, and it is the injuries thing that is leading people to pick Boone, and I could totally see Boone. I'm kind of just doing this for the sake of arguing because Baldelli, his team isn't as stacked as the Yankees are. Going into this season, who knew how good Jorge Polanco would do or how good of a signing Jonathan Scope would be or all this stuff. Everybody's performing well, and I think it's because they have good chemistry in the clubhouse. The pitchers are pitching well. Martin Perez and Michael Pineda have not been a bad 4 and 5 at all. They actually, I believe they're second or third in starting pitcher ERA in the league, and that's the only person in that rotation that's kind of disappointed me is Kyle Gibson, but everything's kind of meshing. They've got a bullpen of guys that you probably don't know who they are if I say their name, like Tyler Duffy or Ryan Harper, but they're doing their jobs. And, they don't have, if you look on paper at the beginning of the year, I'd say that team is, actually, I called them to win the division, but I'd say that this team is going to be 10 games over 500. They're going to outperform that just because of how good they're meshing right now. They have the most home runs in baseball. So, I don't know. something's in the water in Minnesota right now, and I think Baldelli's got something to do with it.
I would agree with that, Gio. And as a Twins fan, definitely. I mean, I give the front office a lot of credit for bringing some of these guys in, but they brought in some guys last year that just didn't work.
Yeah.
We still had Mauer there, and while I love Joe Mauer and he's an icon in Minnesota, he's been on a downturn in the past couple of years, and that for a small market team like Minnesota, that contract was an albatross.
Yeah.
$23 million a year. It wasn't. That would have been fine if he was still a Gold Glove catcher, but
right.
That hasn't been the case for a long time. Bringing in someone like Nelson Cruz was a huge signing. Not just for his production because the dude is ageless, but also for the impact he has on especially the Latino players like Rosario and Polanco and guys like that. Max Kepler's turnaround this year. Mm-hmm. He finally started hitting lefties again, like stuff like that. And I think Baldelli, you know what it is? The reason I give it to Baldelli over Boone, and I understand the Yankees, yes, on paper, but of course the paper lineup, was missing 7 guys rather than the 9 that you thought was starting. But you know what it is? It's the culture. Mm-hmm. It's the culture of winning. And the Yankees have had a winning record for 20 years in a row now? It's the Yankees. Mm-hmm. The Twins aren't like that. They need to bring someone in to put what Falvey and those guys and Thad Levine, like at the top of the food chain there in Minnesota, what they put together. They needed a guy in the trenches like Baldelli to get this chemistry and get this culture working. And I think it's working. Like you said, the chemistry is working. And I think the culture, the fact that they signed Kepler for 5 years, they signed Polanco for 5 years before they even hit free agency.
Team-friendly deals.
Yeah, well, definitely team-friendly deals, obviously. Polanco's making $5-6 million a year. I mean, the dude right now is probably like the 3rd best shortstop in the AL. But, I mean, just saying, like, the culture of it, I think the fact that Baldelli has brought that into the clubhouse and they feel like they can win and they could beat anyone now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deal. I mean, granted, the division stinks. I get that. And it's unfortunate for the Indians because they've had so many injuries. And Kluber with a broken arm. Clevenger was hurt, came back, got hurt again. Like, Carrasco now with leukemia of all things. It's just, it's sad. I mean, it really is. Like I said, like we said before with Skaggs and everything like that. Like, this has been a horrible week for baseball.
It really has.
Yeah.
That's just horrible. But I mean, as far as the on the field stuff, I mean, it's kind of amazing what the Indians are doing. The fact that they're over 500 that was their strength. They missed Lindor for the first month of the season.
Jose Ramirez
has been crap. I mean, they're lucky they have Carlos Santana back.
Yeah, I know.
And for their pitching staff, which was supposed to be they had the best rotation on paper, like we say, in the beginning of the season. They had the best rotation 1 through 5 in baseball.
Yeah.
Basically. And they were missing 3 of them.
Yep.
And Bauer was like up and down in the beginning of the year too.
Yeah.
Bieber stepped up and everything, but I mean,
Zach
and
Plesac wasn't bad either.
Zach Plesac, but I mean, we're talking about manager of the year. I'll give it to Baldelli, but my favorite manager in the major leagues that I've said this for a long time, even though he never managed for my team, is Tito Francona.
Oh yeah.
Tito's awesome. Tito is awesome. And I think he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, if the Indians win a wild card with all their injuries too, I just love Tito though. But I'll give it to Baldelli. As far as the National League, I'd have to agree with Atlanta because I thought Atlanta was going to fall off this year. I think their pitching would take a step back, which it has. Soroka's pitch stepped up, and stuff. I mean, Freeman is Freeman. Acuna's Acuna. Albie is doing his thing. They had the lineup. But I think it's going to come down. Right now, I'd give it to Snicker because they're leading the division. Mm-hmm. Like you said before, you can't give it to Dave Roberts. Dodgers are
Right.
the Dodgers. I wouldn't give it to him. And as far as Madden or Council, like for the Cubs or Brewers, who are basically tied for the rest of the division is so close too, it's hard to call. I'd have to say by the end of the year, I'm going to give a little shout out to Dave Martinez for the Nationals because they're always favored. They're always looking, and they were actually my pick to go to the World Series. All right.
Mine too. They were my pick to win the
But
division at least.
I picked them to actually win the National League. I think I picked them to win the World Series, believe it or not. But yeah, I did. I picked them to win the World Series. After they get rid of Bryce Harper, they go win the World Series.
On paper, man, they would look good.
But let's put it this way. Now, the Nationals started off 19-31 in their first 50 games. People were like, well, here we go. It's the same old Nationals. Martinez game. They're 27-11 since then.
Yeah.
So if Martinez can start off those first 50 games like that, basically first third of the season, and he can get this team to win that division, that wins it for me. So I think it's a wait and see type thing. Right now, it's probably Snitker because they are winning the NL East in what we thought was going to be a tough NL East, aside from the Marlins. But whoever wins that NL East, I think either Kapler or Snitker or Martinez, I think will win. I think will win the Manager of the Year.
Yeah. You know who I like as a manager, and they're in unfortunate circumstances with their team right now. But Brandon Hyde for the Orioles, he seems like he knows what he's doing in there. Like, who would want to manage the Orioles at this point?
Yeah,
so, like,
well,
it's not his fault that they're terrible. They're just a bad team.
No.
They don't have any pitching except John Means, and who knew that was going to be a thing. And their lineup consists of, like, if you showed someone who was just a
Trey Mancini and 8 other guys.
Yep, exactly.
Basically.
Exactly. I was going to say Trey Mancini, maybe some people know who Renato Nunez is, but probably not. And the rest of the team. And the bullpen, I could name a couple guys, but most people probably couldn't. So there's just a terrible team. But one thing I like about him is he always sticks up for his players. He's gotten thrown out of games like quite a few times already this year. And, that's one of my favorite traits about managers, not like willing to get thrown out of a game, hopefully not in important circumstances, but to defend your players. And the culture in Baltimore, although how bad they are, it doesn't seem like the culture is terrible right now. And I think Hyde's a big part of that. So, once that team actually gets some pieces, then they could be I'll give them like 5 or 6 years to be good, but
yeah, it's going to be a little while.
Yeah.
Especially in that division.
And I just did an article about the Marlins. I think the Marlins are playoff contenders in 2 years because of how good their pitching is.
Yeah, I like that article.
Jordan Yamamoto, thank you. Jordan Yamamoto has been only 4 starts so far, but he's got like a 1.2 something ERA, and he's 3-0. So he is looking really good. And then you got guys like Zach Gallen, who's supposed to be good. He's pitched mediocre so far. You've got Sandy Alcantara, the Marlins lone all-star, which I don't know how they picked him over a couple other guys, but they did.
Yeah.
So there's him. There's Trevor Richards, who's, I feel like he's got a lot of potential. And then Caleb Smith, who I think should have been the all-star pick, but he was injured. So and then there's a lot of guys in the farm system. They got Sixto Sanchez from the Phillies in the JT Realmuto trade.
Yeah.
And guys
Pablo
like
Lopez.
Eliezer Hernandez. Yeah, Pablo, that's what I was thinking of. Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, another guy.
Eliezer Hernandez. Like, I said in the article, they need to trade some of this pitching for bats because they have too many starting pitchers for the future, and they have not enough bats. If you look at their top prospects, they've got maybe 3 or 4 guys who are going to come up and hit for them in the next 3 or 4 years, and I'm not sure about some of their production, so they're going to need to make some moves when it comes to free agency and trading for some bats in that lineup.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was a great article, J.O., definitely. And I agree with you. I mean, that's where you start out, the starting pitching. I mean, they're going about it that way. This is the way Atlanta went about it. You know, you look at rebuilding teams, and Atlanta went about it that way because they traded for Sean Newcomb, they traded for Mike Fultonavich, they traded for they drafted guys like Kyle Wright, Mike Soroka. You know, the Cubs and Astros went about it the other way.
Yeah.
They drafted hitters. The Cubs drafted Ian Happ, Eloy Jimenez, Javi Baez, Chris Bryant. You know, they went all hitting and spent the money on free agent pitching.
Yeah.
Well, they had Kyle Hendricks and everything, but they spent the money on John Lester, John Lackey, Cole Hamels, guys like that. Same thing with the Astros. They traded for or spent the money for Cole, Verlander, but they drafted Correa, Altuve, Tucker, Yordan Alvarez. So we'll see. There's two different ways to go about it. Now, the Cubs have won a World Series, and the Astros won it the year after that.
Yeah.
We'll see how this works out for Atlanta and Miami. You know, if Atlanta can get it to a World Series and win it, then you see that could work too. But I think you have to load up on one side because then you can trade those players. You know, they do kind of the same thing in football.
Yeah.
The mentality in football is you pay for one side, draft another. So you pay for offense and you draft defense, or vice versa.
Right.
You know, you pay for that pass rusher, that lockdown corner, but you'll draft if you have your quarterback who's pretty good on a rookie deal, and you can mix and match your running backs and get a wide receiver or a tight end that play, you know, stuff like that, or vice versa. You pay for the playmakers like a wide receiver and a running back, and then you draft like DBs and stuff. So it's similar that way. Just mentioning it because different organizations go about it different ways, and we'll see how it all worked out. Like I said, it worked out for the Cubs, and then the following year it worked out for the Astros. So we'll see how Atlanta and Miami pull this off.
I think Atlanta's done a little bit better of a job getting hitters in that lineup, but the thing is with Atlanta, they're a couple years ahead of the Marlins because they started their pitching rebuild 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, so a couple years
ago. The Marlins are basically just
yeah.
starting now. Yeah, the Marlins have a lot of homegrown talent, and they're just kind of starting that now. They're not they're not ahead of the game. They haven't had time to get the bats, to get some guys from the international pool and stuff. But the Braves have gotten guys like Acuna, and then Ozzie Albies, who needs to fire his agent after that terrible team-friendly contract. But then they've got guys, Freddie Freeman. They just go out and sign Josh Donaldson, who's underperformed a little bit, but he's got the power still. So they put a good team together.
Yeah, they definitely have. They surprised me a little bit this year.
Yeah.
So far.
Right.
Yeah. Did you hear about the whole thing with Odubel Herrera?
Yeah, the suspension for domestic violence.
He's suspended for the rest of the year. Domestic violence thing.
Yeah. I hate to see that from a player. It's just that's just going to be a black mark on his career forever. Then just his life in general. That's not.
Yeah. Not something you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read the whole story, so I don't know the whole story about it, so I don't want to comment too much on it, but I saw it come by before. I'm like, man.
I know.
When will these guys learn?
Yeah, so thank you for listening to another brand new episode of Too Much Pod Tar, as this was our, going over the first half, the Midseason Awards, so that was good to go over what our picks were for those, and there will also be another episode coming out today as well at the same time for our predictions for the second half of, who we think is going to win the divisions, wild cards, and what's going to happen in the playoffs. So that's going to be, so take a listen to that too. If you're listening to this, listen to that episode afterwards. And if you're listening to that one first, then obviously you don't have to listen to it. So, but yeah, listen to both episodes. And as a reminder, you can find our Twitter at Too Much Pod Tar, or at pod_tar, our Instagram at Too Much Pod Tar. And that's where we post some previews to our episodes and reminders of when the episodes are out. And you can find all of our Scorecrow articles on the scorecrow.com. And we post them all on Twitter at the Scorecrow and Instagram at the Scorecrow and Facebook the Scorecrow. And also the new, as I mentioned on previous episodes, our new Facebook group is the Scorecrow Sports Group, and our subreddit Scorecrow Sports Group, where we post our articles and allow other people to post whatever articles they've written or anything else. But yeah, as a reminder, you can never have too much pod tar. Join us next time.